Hello, fellas. We are so glad you guys are here. Welcome to Guys Night
Right.
2020, our yearly men's conference. It looks a little bit different. We're usually in a sanctuary packed with hundreds of men worshiping God, connecting with each other. But you know what? It's still the same heart, the same spirit. We're here to encourage one another. It's going to be a great night. We're so glad you guys are here.
Yeah, something special when guys get together, when we hang out. And I know it's different because we're going to be online and we're hanging out right now, but we still want to be a part of something so we can talk about what's going to happen this evening during the conversation. We can post in the comments below.
That's right.
We can interact with one another, but we got a great conversation coming up, don't we, Pastor Sam?
That's right. Tell all your friends, we're just here to serve you guys, so you can create a watch party, text your friends, even guys you don't like, tell them what's going on, and you'll start liking them. I promise you. It's going to be a fun night. So we have something really cool planned. We have Pastor Rob from Shoreline Church here in Austin, Texas. And he's having a conversation with Pastor Earl, the pastor of Shoreline City in Dallas. And they're doing an amazing job reaching thousands of people. And, they just got together and then talked about real stuff, real men issues. And there's something powerful that happens when guys are real with each other. Right, David?
Oh, it's very true. These guys are just talking because just like we are, we're having conversations. We're all struggling right now. COVID-19 is something that's unprecedented. Nobody knows exactly how to deal with it. Everybody's home with their wives, or you're home with your families or your friends, or maybe you're home on your own right now, but things are going on. Jobs are different. People aren't working. You never know exactly what's going on in your world, but let's talk about it. Let's be real about it. Let's not hide it. Let's not ignore it.
Right.
Let's talk about it. So that's what tonight's all about. Let's get engaged. Let's get connected. Let's talk about what's happening in our world right now.
Yeah, because, every man needs somebody cheering him on and saying, hey, I believe in you. I got you. Hey, me too. I'm going through that, or I've thought of that, or God has brought me through this, and he'll do the same thing for you. So that's what's going to happen tonight. I promise you, whatever you're going through, whatever your thoughts are, whatever really answers you need, they'll probably be answered here today. And, God has a way of just kind of putting the right things in place for exactly of what you need. We hear all kinds of testimonies through our small groups, right, David?
Yeah.
Where guys get together and they're just real with each other. And that's going to happen tonight as well at Guys Night. So what can they expect? We don't have a car show.
No car show. If you want to have a car show, go hang out in your own car or go hang out in your garage. But tonight we got Pastor Rob and Earl. They're going to be talking. They're going to be hanging out. And we're all going to be online. We're all going to be interacting with you. We're going to be answering questions. We're going to be commenting. We're going to be praying for each other. So let's make it interactive. Let's make it a lot of fun. And let's get some great information.
And then afterwards, we'll tell you about some groups that you can get connected. There's been tons of opportunities through Zoom, a lot of different social platforms where guys are connecting, still talking, still connecting. Listen, pretty soon we're going to be all back together in our small groups and, getting back together, encouraging one another, worshiping at church. But for right now, thank God for just the technology that we have to be able to do this. So get ready to receive, to be inspired, to be challenged at Guys Night 2020. Here we go.
See you after.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to start out. Hey, guys of Shoreline, we're in a conversation with Pastor Earl from Shoreline City in Dallas. And we're going to take the next 30 minutes or so and just kind of have a conversation about life in these days and life in these times. And hopefully it'll be a blessing to you, men of Shoreline and whoever's watching online, which is kind of crazy, isn't it, Earl? So let me just make an introduction, just in the slight case that there might be some who don't know you as well as most of us do. But Pastor Earl is the lead pastor along with Onika of Shoreline City, one of the fastest growing churches in the entire country. It's absolutely amazing to see what God is doing with you guys. But we're now stuck at home, huh?
We are. Well, I'm glad we get to have this time together. I so wish we were all in the same room, but thanks so much for having me, Pastor Rob. It goes without saying, I love you so much. I'm so thankful for you. You're obviously not only my pastor, but somebody that I love and respect and care for so much. And obviously I was on your staff for all those years, almost 12 years being there. That's in amazing. Austin, and learned practically everything I know, other than shaving my head. I did not learn that. I picked that up from somebody else, but pretty much everything else I learned from you, and standing on your shoulders, you and Pastor Laura. So thankful for you guys, and glad we get to have these moments together. But man, how crazy is this time we are in? Wow.
I just never would have thought in a million years, just cruising along, in our lifetime. we have never experienced something like this. We talk about our parents, and they went through World War II. You talk about grandparents and others who went through like the Great Depression and all of that. But we've kind of skated, relatively drama free when you think about this kind of global impact scenario. But now we're in the midst of something that is unprecedented, and we don't even know what the far reaching effects of it will be, even for months, if not years to come.
You're right. And even thinking of that, I remember when the Gulf War first started, I was a teenager at that time, with the first President Bush, and all that happened. And obviously you had, the war in Iraq and different things that took place. But for so many Americans, though we would have felt some, obviously not some, but, loyalty and, care for those armed soldiers, it was not like those who knew about Vietnam. Vietnam had such a massive impact in kind of the fabric of everyday life for every American.
Yeah.
And then you had these massive wars going on overseas. And for many Americans, it could feel very disconnected. Now, obviously, if you had somebody in the armed forces, or you care a lot about, the news, you were involved in it. But for a lot of Americans, it was disconnected. So now you come into a COVID, and this is something that none of us get to be disconnected from.
Right.
Everybody has to be in this. And not only is it in the news, now our kids aren't going to school. People aren't getting married or can't have the ceremonies that they wanted to have.
Right.
We can't go to our friend's graduation. We can't go on those spring break trips or the summer vacations that we had planned. For high school seniors, they're not sure what's going to happen with their school when they're coming up, in the fall. For those of us who are, running companies, we're trying to figure out what is 25%, what does 50% mean? How close can people get? So it really has turned so much of what we have known, right upside down. And I'm sure for a lot of men that are watching this, that, has brought some sense of anxiety, a little bit of fear. I know for me, I've even felt, I don't know if I can say this, but I felt some anger, with all of this, just mad, not at any one person, just at the whole situation. Like, get me out of my house. I don't want to stay in here. I mean, what is this disease, this virus doing to all of us? So that trap feeling has been revealing, I think, of maybe some of my own emotions and own thought processes, and trying to, as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a leader, as a friend, maneuver through these things and try to come out the better version of me, not a bitter version, not a more frustrated version, not a more angry, not angrier version of who I was before this whole thing got started.
So when you talk about that, the scope of loss has been pretty widespread. When you think about someone who goes through an individual tragedy, you can express empathy, for somebody who might be going through the loss of a loved one or whatever. But in this particular case, everyone is experiencing loss at some level. You've got, weddings without receptions and honeymoons. You've got, babies being born without showers. You're having graduations without celebration. You're having, people who have lost jobs, who have lost, perhaps even a loved one through the virus, or because of the virus, not having health care provided for someone,
That's right.
That had some other issues. So you have this loss that is pretty widespread. How do you feel like as men, we can handle that loss? Well, what should we do with that loss, and how do we navigate through that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And us as men, we like to control things, right? We like to know the plan, where it's going, what's going to happen. I want to at least be able to step in, make everything right. We all have a little bit of Clark Kent in us, a little bit of Superman, have a little bit of a cape, a little bit of that Batman, a cave down somewhere where, if we pull out the right equipment, we're able to just kind of save the world and put everything back together. And in this one, I mean, if you've ever felt out of control, I mean, here's the time. Because even those who are the professionals, they don't really even know all what to expect in this. Everything is so new. The virus is changing and we don't have a lot of data. So we're trying to make guesses about this or that. So for us as men, when we have the desire to be in control, and then we're feeling the exact opposite of that, I think sometimes we can revert to a dark place at times, where we can try to get into some things that we can control. Well, I can control pornography. I can turn that on and off when I want to. I can control the behavior of my animals or behavior of my kids. So let me get more controlling there. Some might feel they're going to be more controlling with the business that they're leading and their employees. And you can start to feel like you're taking your fingers and just trying to dig them deeper into things you feel you can control, because there's so much around you that you can't. And for me, I know for you, because obviously, I admire you so much and the way I've seen you live your life. I mean, gosh, for so many years now, 20 years, or maybe over 20 years now, I've seen you go through times where you didn't control things, but you didn't try to put your fingers harder into stuff. You actually pressed more into God. And I'm not trying to be cliche here at all, but if there's ever a time when us as men need to understand that we have a creator and we have a father, and he is for us and he's on our side and he's not asking us to do things on our own, the time is now. So let's learn that lesson in this moment, that our dependence is upon someone and in someone that is not moved by anything that's taken place. Let me get my faith off of myself. Let me put my faith in a rock that is immovable, unshakable. His kingdom will not go away. It's lasting forever. Let me go ahead and lean into that as much as I can. And then hopefully I get a sense of relief. Again, we're all human. We're still going to have the emotions that we have. We're still going to have the feelings that we have. But I think we get to choose where we put our energy. And instead of me putting my energy into trying to control people or things that I think I can control, let me use my energy to press into someone who is actually controlling everything. And let me allow the Holy Spirit to teach me how I need to now interact with the realm of influence that God has given me. I'm not sure if any of that even makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And it actually brings up another kind of related question, because I think on the side, at least I've felt this, and I wonder how many other men have felt what I, have kind of been, just touching on a little bit in my own world. As the pastor of a church, I'm used to standing up in front of thousands of people and delivering a message. And there's a certain amount of affirmation. There's a certain amount of value, or maybe even, I'm wondering, even in my own world, how much of my worth came from some of these things that I just kind of took for granted. Every single week I would preach, and every single week I'd get a lot of really positive feedback. And now almost every measuring stick is gone.
That's right.
I mean, I preach to an empty sanctuary, 5,000 seats, and there's like 3 people on the tech team that are working some of the cameras and the sound and all of that,
And they better not be yawning.
Yeah, that's right. They better not be. So I wonder how many men, had, maybe their business success, or maybe affirmation at the office, or they go through life and they've got all of these support systems in place that kind of add value to who they think they are. But now all of that is kind of gone.
Gone.
How do you deal with that? And
the athletes that played in high school, played in college, even professional athletes, they talk about that withdrawal that they can feel, especially the professional athletes, because you're on a stage or on a platform where hundreds, if not thousands of people are cheering you on.
Hundreds of thousands, like millions.
Or even hundreds of thousands. That's right. So then you leave that, you're 28, 35 years old, because most athletes aren't playing till, they're 50 something, other than golf. So you transition And now you're just like everybody else. You're just another guy who's living his life. And Pastor Rob, I'll tell you, this is maybe 2 weeks ago. I woke up on a Sunday morning, because like you're used to being up in front of people. And I felt useless. Mm-hmm. That was the word that I felt. I felt useless. And I know it wasn't true. And this is where we have to, wrestle with feelings versus truth, because we can feel something. That doesn't mean it's true. The feeling is true. But the reality is we're all still sons of God, called by him. He has his hand on our life, and our worth and value was never set in what we did. It was always set on the cross. So our worth and value doesn't actually go up and down. But I was feeling like, what the heck am I doing? I preached this message. These folks, I recorded it a couple of days ago. Now we're putting it on YouTube and on Facebook. And I just did not feel that sense of adrenaline, that sense of joy. And it's not even just from the preaching and the people applauding. It's seeing the people in the lobby, like you. Yeah. And hearing, oh, that's your grandmother. Oh, let me tell you about your grandson. He's the best grandson in the whole world. All those interactions in the lobby, I was just missing all of that. Now I'm in a chat room going, that's good preaching. I'm talking about me. I mean, it just So that useless feeling, I think a lot of men could feel that. And now we get to recalibrate. And I think this is really, really healthy for us. Mm-hmm. I think we all got a massive reset. And God said, let me ask you, son, where is your value? Where does your worth come from? You have to now decide that. And now that I've felt useless, I've gotten to that place. Now I get to go, all right, Jesus, are you enough for me? Mm-hmm. Is what you did on the cross enough for me? Or do I need more people in my church? Or do I need more followers on this? Or do I need more influence there? Or like, what is it? Is it Jesus and what? Because if it's Jesus and something, whatever, that means Jesus is not enough. Yeah. And especially for our worth and value. Now, I know we need community. We need connection. We got to have friendships. All of that is vital. But that's not the question we're asking here. We're talking about our identity as men. Is that connected to who friends me? Or is that connected to who I belong to? And we're saying as men of God, our worth and our value is going to be connected to who we belong to. So that means even in our sin, in our shortcomings, in our successes, in our triumphs, no matter if it's an up or if it's a down, if it's a mountaintop or it's a valley, we're saying, Jesus, you now have established my worth, and it does not vacillate in the least bit. It is now steady. And it's been a hard thing to digest, but it's the right thing to digest. This is going to this will make us better for the long haul.
There's no doubt that my journey through this particular season has been really, really healthy spiritually, but in some ways painful emotionally. Wow. But those are I think, when you really deal with it honestly and you recognize, because it's one thing to say, oh, Jesus is my everything. Jesus is my Lord. Yeah. He's number one in my life. But then you got all of these things that, you like your life, you enjoy what you do, and I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying what you do and loving, the calling that God's put on your heart. But, especially in the beginning days, I was coming to grips with the fact that this might really end church the way that we know it. Yeah. And will Shoreline, even as a church, survive? And then I'm thinking, I've spent my whole life building this. If it all went away, would I be okay with that? And at the end of the day, I was not as okay as and I also had some needless concerns, because now, even as we've gone through this, we have seen the church rise up and be so much stronger and so much more powerful. And the people in our church are so much more loyal and connected to each other than I ever imagined. Yeah, they're bonded. And it's been a beautiful affirmation of the right stuff. Wow. Not necessarily my stuff, but the right stuff.
That's really
And,
good. That's really
but
good.
I think ultimately, I think that's maybe what some of the new normal when we come out of this, maybe we'll all be healthier.
I
Maybe
think so.
we'll, yeah,
You think
yeah,
about
maybe,
your dad, my dad, or all the guys, every guy on here had a dad, whether he was involved in their life or not involved in their life. And you look at your dad and some of us go, oh man, he was the best dad in the whole world. And some of us go, man, my dad was terrible. So, we got the full spectrum, that's joining us right now. Oh, I apologize about that. That should not have happened. So we can maybe edit that out. I don't know. Or
no, it's all good. It's life.
I got to take that call. No, fellas, you're going to have to wait.
We'll just listen in and see what that looks like.
So I hope that doesn't happen. I don't even know how to turn that off. Honestly, right now, I would probably be off of the Zoom call if I tried to turn that off. But you look at your dad and you go, okay, my dad, maybe he rode me hard. And my dad rode me so hard, so I'm not going to do that to my kids. What I'm going to do with my kids is I'm going to let them do whatever. You kind of go the opposite direction, of your father. But in all of this, if us as men have realized, oh my goodness, my worth and value was connected to some things that it really should not have been connected to. You get to ask us that question of our sons and daughters. Hey, do you think your worth and value goes up based on if I'm happy with you or not? Do you think your worth or value goes up based on how I'm interacting with you, if I'm mad or if I'm upset or if I'm happy or if I'm sad? And we get to dig into that with our kids, because if we're dealing with that with the unconditional love of God, then perhaps some of our sons and daughters or even our wives or girlfriends might be dealing with some of that as they're interacting with us. So I think it opens up a whole nother level of conversation that takes our relationships even deeper.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so something I want to go back to a little bit when you said that sometimes when you're going through difficult situations or you're experiencing some losses and your world is upside down, you don't have that sense of control that you used to have, you might end up going into some dark places. Let's unpack that a little bit, especially as it relates, with men and sexual sin and all of that. People are at home, online, accessibility to pornography. I actually read this in a newscast that I don't know if it was like Pornhub or something like that, was providing free porn content online for the people in Italy who are, back in the beginning days of the coronavirus. So here the churches are not able to meet, and Pornhub is giving their stuff away, and the world doesn't have any sense of, is that right or wrong? It's just like entertainment, whatever the case is. But it's out there in huge numbers. And what can we do as men to safeguard ourselves from that side of the world?
Number one, it's huge and courageous that you're even talking about it, right? Because if we don't talk about it, it's the elephant in the room. Because not every guy, I get that, but most guys have some type of, sexual leaning, urge. And if you don't, hey, God still loves you. You're still a man, all of that. But for a lot of men, this is like a big, big issue. King David in the Bible, he's got everything a man could ever want. He's got it all. And he got to the kingdom, got that place in the kingdom because of God's favor and God's love and God's grace. Like David was just a shepherd boy on the backside of a field, and God pulls him out and is like, I chose you and I love you. And then God protects him while Saul's trying to kill him and elevates him and gives him all this favor and strength and anointing. And still, this man cannot turn his eyes away from Bathsheba. He has tasted all the goodness of God. He's at the top of his game. You cannot get any higher than David was. And still he can't take his eyes off of Bathsheba.
Let me interrupt 1 second, because I was just reading this verse today. And, it was, after, he got confronted about his sin, and God spoke to him and said, I've given you everything. If you asked for even a little bit more, wouldn't I have given it to you? So, you were describing all of this favor and all of this blessing upon his life. And he said, I would have given you even more if you asked for it. And yet, even with all of that favor and blessing upon his life, go ahead, take it up.
No, you're so right. You're so right. So I look at him and I go, I'm not better than David. I'm not. He had to go to get Saul's daughter. He had to go get like 100 Philistine foreskins or something like that. So he did it gladly. He had to go kill cut off 100 foreskins. What kind of crazy guy was he that he went and did that for the fun of it? So this guy is the warrior of warriors.
Yeah.
And still. So, for me, I really have to, fight to put some safeguards in my place. One, talking about it honestly, with friends and mentors in my life like you, and having that willingness to open up. So all the fellas that are, joining us now, I just encourage you to go ahead and get real. And one of the great things about Zoom and FaceTime and all that stuff is it might be a little bit easier to even be honest over Zoom than it is to be in a room. And that's okay. So just go ahead and use that screen as a little bit of protection, but be honest to say, hey, this is where I'm at. This is how I'm struggling. And I think we even got to be okay with, I haven't fallen into it, but man, these thoughts are hitting me hard. They have been coming at me hard. And it's amazing once you say it, wow. There's like a freedom that comes. The enemy tries to put us in a prison because he keeps us in the dark. He keeps us in that closet. He keeps us hiding out. And as long as we hide out, that's where shame grows. And that's where its tentacles grow deeper on the inside of us. But when you swing that door wide open and you invite some other brothers into your life, it's beautiful to see how the light and the grace of God shows up. And it might hurt sometimes because some of us might be in some stuff pretty deep right now because we haven't been able to control our finances and haven't been able to control our jobs and, are feeling incredibly lost. So you might open up some really dark stuff, but that is going to be worth it. Like the regret of holding on to it is way worse than the freedom that comes and the initial pain that is there when you expose it. So just go ahead. Let's be honest. You're in a great church around great people that love you and care about you. This is the time for us as men to get free so that when we come out of this, man, we come with just such strength and passion. I'll say this, Pastor Rob, beginning of this year, God spoke a word to me for our church. And I don't even talk like this usually, right? It's like, God spoke a word to me. I'm so old. No, it's just, just praying and just, writing in my own journal and just felt this word, on my heart for this year. And that word was release. I just kept hearing that word over and over and over again. And this word means to set free from something that burdens, confines, or restrains. And to relieve from something that oppresses. And I just really, really felt that word, not knowing we were all going to feel confined, obviously, not knowing we were all going to be in the houses that we were in and wanting to be released. But I also think there's something spiritual and something emotional that God is wanting to do in all of us. I do think he wants to release us. So this is the time for us to begin that process of freedom out of pornography. I've been chained in it. I know that story. I've been there. But man, it's better to be free, but you don't get free from hiding it. You get free by exposing it.
That's beautiful, Earl. And you do have a story there that is magnificent in its deliverance. And so there's hope for all of us. Really, there really is. Yeah. Hey, you got time for 2 more questions?
Oh man, yeah, for sure. I love hanging out with you all day.
Okay. So I think people would like to know, especially those who have kids at home and, you're a dad and there's a lot more time being spent at home now than ever. And I know things are loosening up a little bit. So people maybe we're on the tail end of this, or maybe it gets extended longer if there's some, who knows what's going to happen. But as a dad, what are some of the things that you have found during this season, and maybe you're going to take this into the next season of your life, because you've been kind of forced together? What are some of the things as a dad that you can speak to the dads out there?
What a great question. Thank you for that. We got 3. So we got our 15-year-old son, we got our 9-year-old son, and then we got a 4-year-old little girl. So we got this kind of full spectrum. We don't have somebody in college or empty nester. So we're not on that side of things. But as far as again, teenager, elementary, preschool, and teachers, great, give them a raise. And man, God, what in the world? You want to talk about somebody who's undervalued? I already felt that about teachers, but now I really, really feel it. To have our 4-year-old have to get on a Zoom call, do you know it's pandemonium in there? I mean, there's kids, you can't even see their heads. They're doing cartwheels and kids are picking their nose. I mean, it's all over the place. And here you are like, no, Elle, sit down, pay attention. And you got everybody on the Wi-Fi, so you don't have nearly enough bandwidth in your house. I mean, it has been crazy. But at the same time, man, what a gift, right? I mean, what a gift to be able to spend this much time almost every day. My 15-year-old asks me to play basketball with him almost every single day. And we are out there and we shoot, and I'm teaching him dribbling drills, and he's just getting better. And we're just talking about life or talking about nothing. I mean, who knew I was going to have this kind of unfiltered, uninterrupted time with my 15-year-old? I don't know that he's ever going to forget it. I don't think I'm ever going to. What a gift from God. It has been magical. And if he watches this, man, maybe he's going to stop doing that. So hopefully he might not. But, I almost cried talking to Onika, my wife, at night, like, honey, he's coming to ask me. He texts me, he's like, hey, I'm going out at 3:30 or 4 today. And that's his way of saying, Dad, you're going to meet me out there. Dad, I can't wait.
Man.
To hang out. And he and I played one-on-one together. And yesterday it was me, him, and Grayson playing a shooting game together. And Grayson actually beat us. I don't know how that happened, but our 9-year-old won. So just those stories, those moments, and you realize, like we probably even realizing with church, people don't need something that's super produced. They just want something authentic.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are even finding out from their banks right now, or from whatever business or restaurant that they like to, they're doing business with. You don't even necessarily need everything to be perfect, but man, I want it to be personal. I want it to be like, I want it to care. I want them to like know me. And that's what I've been feeling with our kids. So, man, yes, we've been making cookies together. And yes, we've done Uno tournaments. And yes, we've totally gotten on each other's nerves. And yes, I've sent the kids to their room at different times. Like, hey, everybody, just get away from each other. We've had those times. But I think we've had so many just moments of just being. And this is the stuff that I think is building a really, really healthy family for the long haul. So I'm really, really thankful for this time. So that's some of the stuff I've learned in this time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. One last question. You've been so gracious with your time, Earl. Thank you so much for doing this. Yeah. So, I think people sometimes struggle a little bit with, we talk about being in a relationship with God. And I know this is going to sound super basic, but I think men, maybe even more so than women, I could be wrong on that, but how do men practically, develop this love relationship with the living God? And, maybe speak into that a little bit, just not, the platitudes and the cliches, but I mean, I think, one of the things that I heard from a good friend of both of ours, Craig Rochelle, he was just, talking a little bit about how, hey, you know what, maybe Christianity and church was a part of men's lives. Like I go to church, I go to work, and I've got my family, and it's compartmentalized. Now all of that's kind of, turned upside down. And he wasn't necessarily talking about that as much as he was just saying, maybe we don't want to go back to what we had before. Maybe, we want to go see the ball games, and We want to, have, the ability to go out to a restaurant, but maybe we don't want to go back to, casual Christianity where, God was a part of our lives. I mean,
Wow.
So how do we develop that all-consuming passion for this God who loves us so sincerely?
This is such a good question. And I'm glad you're asking it, because it really is at the foundation of what we would say life, not only manhood, but life. That if our relationship with God is not right, is not life-giving, then what is there really? I mean, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul, is what Jesus says. And we all know how many guys we've seen on TV that it looks like they're at the top of the mountain, but they're so empty on the inside. And that's not what Jesus designed this Christian life to look like for any of us. So one of the things I think that pops into my mind first is that God is really after our hearts more than our hands, right? And I think us as men, we like to do things with our hands. Like, I want to accomplish it. I want to get it done. Okay, give me my to-do list. Okay, I'll organize the garage. I'll fix the car. I'll build the thing. I'll build the team. I'll program whatever it is. Okay, I did it. Check, done. Let me kind of move on. And that's not what God has been looking for ultimately from any of us. He's after this thing right here, because it's possible for us to do all the right things with our hands and our heart be disconnected from it. How many guys right now might be in marriages that they're doing the right things with their hands as far as paying bills, providing a roof, but their heart is not in the marriage anymore. They might be doing the right things for their kids, driving to school. They might even be coaching the team, but their heart is not in it. So I think that's what God is actually after. So the question is, how does he get there? Like, how does he get that? Because I think all of us, if you're watching this, you're obviously are on that, you're on the trajectory, the right path, because who just stumbles on this when they're trying to go the wrong way, right? You're watching this because you want to be better. You're watching this because you want to grow. So how in the world do we grow in that love and that connection with God? And this might be super practical, but I just feel like gratitude is a huge motivator that pushes us forward in this love-filled relationship with God. I just feel like when you're just so thankful for like who you could have been and who you're not anymore, and how God has changed you and the stuff that he brought you through, and even the hell that most of us are walking through now or have been through in our lives, and we got the scars to prove it. Like, yeah, it hurt bad. I wanted to quit, but I'm still here, and there's plenty of people that aren't here, but I still am. Thank you, God, that you carried me through. Thank you that even through all the tears that I shed, I'm not getting emotional now, like, man, you still kept being there with me, for me. I mean, when you think about the grace of God and how any of us our lives could have really exploded, and many of our lives have, and then God had the audacity and his grace to put them back together. Wow. Thank you, God. So I think that gratitude is a huge piece. But if I can take it off of something that maybe for some might feel a little bit, flowery, let me just say the practical piece of just grinding out, doing what you know is the right thing to do when you don't feel like doing it. I think there's something that and obviously love is not a feeling. I believe love is a choice more than a feeling. But there's something how our emotions follow doing the right thing. So, I'm not trying to be mad or throw shade on any dad that is out there at, doing all the right stuff, but he's not feeling anything. I think it's better to be doing the right thing. I think we want to ask our emotions to catch up with what our behavior is. Like, keep on doing that thing. But if you can mix in some gratitude and look back to where you used to be and like, wow, look where God has brought me. I think that mixture of Thanksgiving and the training, I think those two things, something can come alive in all of our hearts. Stop trying to be the tough guy. You don't have to have it all together. The reality is there's not one guy that is on this Zoom call right now that has it all together. Not one of us. So take the pressure off yourself to be perfect, because you're not, I'm not, Pastor Rob isn't. But if we can get to this place of utter surrender, I think we can see something come alive in our hearts in a really beautiful way.
Wow. Man, that was 35 minutes of incredible heart-to-heart wisdom. Wow, it was beautiful, Earl. Thank you so much
I love you so much, man. I love the guys on here too, Pastor. Thank you for being the type of leader you are. You're a man's man, somebody that we're all honored to even know, and the way you've laid down your life for us and so many others, it just means the world. So thanks for being who you are.
Well, thank you. And just let me just voice again how excited we are about everything that's happening at Shoreline City. We feel like we're a large cheering section here from Austin, and so honored to be a part in a small way of how you guys are, just exploding the kingdom of God literally all around the world. It's just been awesome to see. And, Onika and Laura are the best of friends. They talk, like, who are you talking to, Onika?
More than we do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you so much for being with us today. I am so grateful for our friendship and for everything that you shared today. It was awesome. Thank you.
Love you.
Yeah, I love you too. Okay, so I think that'll end it.
Yep.
Everything else good?
Oh man, yeah, so great. I'm so glad we got to have this time together. This is so fun.
It was great, man. It was really, really awesome. You look like you're like, what's behind you?
I'm in my bathroom.
I was gonna ask you. I should have asked that while we were still recording, man.
I'm in my bathroom. It's like the only place that I can try to hide out where a kid's not gonna walk into the room, and I lock a door and it's like, "Hey, Dad." I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm in the middle of."
That's so funny.
I've got two doors locked. The tub is literally right here. Between my legs right now, the tub.
You know what? I'm gonna leave this on the program. I want people to see it. Anyway, love you, my dear friend, and we'll talk soon.
Love you so much.
Okay, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow, that was awesome.
Wow,
I'm
that really
telling
was
you.
good.
I told you were going to really enjoy it. Real guy stuff, right? I love when guys get together, and but it doesn't end here. It just starts here. I'm sure that you guys were encouraged and stirred up to just kind of get around some guys and be real with each other. How can they do that, David?
Yeah, we want to make sure that everybody stays connected. So if you haven't connected yet, or even if you have, go to shoreline.net, click on the groups link, and go check out the groups we have available. We have men's groups that are still meeting. They're doing Zoom calls on every other week or every week. And then we also have guys that are hanging out in the Now groups.
Yeah,
and then we have sermon study groups going on. So there is a place to be connected. You don't want to be alone this season. I know, like me, you may have heard something tonight that really struck a nerve or hit a tone. You're just like, man, I need to talk to somebody about that, or I need to dig in a little bit more. That's what groups are all about.
That's right. So if you want to be a better husband, a better father, just a better guy overall, listen, none of us can do it alone. We all need each other. The Bible says as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And so there's great opportunities. And the guys that have seen the most change in their lives, I promise you, are those guys that took that step and just reached out, made some really good friends. They grew in their relationship with God. They really grew in their identity, who God created them to be. So there's something for you. Listen, David and I, we're here to serve you.
Whatever we can do.
Anything we can do, anything that we can answer, we're here to direct you. We're doing life together. So just continue the journey, guys. We'll see you real soon. Go to shoreline.net and you'll get all the information there.
Yeah, don't be alone. Get connected. Hang out with some guys in this season. We wanted to stay with you guys. We love you. We miss you. We'll see you real soon.
God bless you guys.